Happy Tuesday, beautiful people. I just had to finish my note. All right, y'all. Glad to see y'all back here. Let's get started straight away because I have to take the side to a dentist appointment at 8:30 today. So we got to be done on time. So happy Tuesday. It is June the 6th, 2023, day 50 of year 5 of reading through books, laws, and prophets. And of the 5-year consecutive day count, it is day 1429. Today we are going to finish the Lord's 5th book, which is the very last chapter, chapter 7, or in Roman numerals, it is chapter VII. And then we're going to hop on over here and we're going to start the book of Moses in the secret Nazarite scroll on page 282. So, Father, we thank you that you created wisdom before you created all things. All right, let's see who here today. Nazarene scene, shalom, fam. Avia, greetings. Mom, shalom, shalom. Eternal learner, shalom. Tabitha, hey, girl, hey. Tikva, hey, girl, hey. Donnie, bless up. Brandon Carter, what's going on, fam? Rise and shine. Derek, shalom. Just me. Yes, it is a beautiful morning. Dawn, what's good, sis? Jamia, hey, girl, hey. It's June the 7th. You're right. You're absolutely right. You know why? Because we weren't here yesterday, and I wrote my notes on the 6th. Hold on. Draw arrow here. Hold on. I gotta go change my date in the video. Thank you for that. I was not paying attention. I just did what I normally do in the morning. Thank you for that, Nazarene scene. I just said hey to Tikva and Jamil. And everybody else here already hanging out in the background. Top of the day to you. All right, y'all, let's get started. I do still feel kind of sleepy. I went to bed super early last night. Like Tuesday, yesterday we didn't have a video. I just could not do it. I really couldn't. Not that I couldn't, that I didn't want to. I was so tired. I was like, something is wrong with me. Like, I was super tired. I told my husband, I said, I can't move, so clearly, well, I did. I'm waiting for my shipment. I'm not sure why it's taking so long this time. Waiting for my shipment of my I threw my empty bottle away too. My Miss Mary Ruth. So, but for real, that shouldn't happen when I stop taking a vitamin. Well, it is an indication that something's still wrong. And maybe the vitamin is just masking it, so I don't know. Maybe it'll be here today, tomorrow. I'm gonna check my shipment on Amazon. I might come around and pay you a visit just to get a couple doses from you. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know what in the world is wrong. So I had to get some of my other concoctions and put them together or whatever. And I went to bed, like for real, like just a little bit after 8 o'clock last night, just to make sure. I don't know, y'all. I got to pay a little bit better attention to my body and the nutrients and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's why we wasn't here yesterday. All right, so let's get started. Chapter 7, page 135 at the bottom. Great became the wisdom of man in that day, and his power and glory were greater than ever had been before in all the world. He established mighty kingdoms and sub-kingdoms over the lands of Japheth and Shem and Parsi and Arabia. He excelled in building temples and palaces and in all manner of inventions, in fabrics of linen and silk and wool and fine leather, in writing books and tablets, in mathematics and laws and reciprocities, in navigation and in inland travel, in making thermometers and barometers and magnetic needles and telescopes and microscopes, in chemistry and botany. Verily did the philosophers of those days know the mysteries of heaven and earth. And man became no longer thankful to God and his lords, but man became conceited, saying, The gods are fools. All things are nature and of growth. Man had become wise in spite of God and his lords. All things evolved into higher states. It is the neutral order. Neither is there any all person, Jehovah. He is void, like the wind. And God saw the conceit of man, and he said, Behold, he that I have raised up turneth against me. Now verily will I go away from man for a season, that he may learn wisdom. Behold, man shall also find that many of his fellows, whom he raiseth up, turn against himself. So the Lord departed out of the star chambers, and lo and behold, the places were filled by the spirits of the newly dead, who knew not the heavens above, nor the ways of the Almighty. And man inquired of them thus, Behold, thou art now a spirit. Tell me, is there any God or Lord or Jehovah? And the spirits, desiring to flatter man, and withal not knowing the heavenly kingdoms, answered, saying, Nay, there is no God, nor Lord, nor all person Jehovah. So the kings issued edicts commanding the people to no longer worship God, nor Lord, nor Jehovah. But woe for the judgment of kings and queens. Man, having inherent worship in his soul, ceased indeed to worship God and his lords and even Jehovah, but instead he took to worshiping the stars. Now the spirits manifesting in the temples advised one thing through one seer, and another through another, for they were of little knowledge and wholly unorganized. So presently the kings took to war against one another. Anarchy ensued, and man fell to destroying all glories he had made. Thus again, after 3,000 years of light, man went down in darkness, again fell under the obsessions of Druhas, and again became a barbarian for 300 years more. And after 3,000 years of light is reference number 6, and 6 at the bottom says 3,000 years of light. And then after, let's see, and again became a barbarian for 300 years more. After more is reference number 7, and 7 at the bottom says became a barbarian for 300 years more. And it says the exact same thing, but in reference 3 of light is in square brackets, and reference number 4 for 300 years more is in square brackets. And that is the end of the book, the Lord's 5th book. So the next book that we start is the book of Fragapati. So, but what I think, before we start Fragapati this week, I think I want to get through a bit of the book of Moses. So for the next few days, we're just going to be reading the book of Moses. All right, y'all. So hop on over here. The book of Moses, Glory of Kings, actually. Book of Moses, Glory of Kings, and the prophecy of Malachi. Yeah, I think I want to get through all of that before we start Fragapati. Then after the prophecy of Malachi, that is actually the end of this second section here in the Holy Megillah. And then on page 335, we start the God spell. All right, y'all. So with that being said, let's hop on over here. Page 282 in the Secret Nazarite Scroll, officially known as the Holy Megillah. Okay, Mama, call you. I'm gonna come over there and get some. Matter of fact, I might stop by on the way back from the dentist appointment from Saya. Yes, it is, Dawn. Oh my gosh, look. I don't know, all kind of things was going through my mind. I'm like, what in the world? Yeah, I don't know, y'all. I'm gonna get it together. Okay. The book of Moses, chapter 1, Jacob and the angel. Many generations had passed since the time of Noah and the banishment of Lucifer from this world. With the passing of each generation, the influence of Noah became weaker, and the world again sank into deep darkness. Though Lucifer was banned from embodiment in this world, he had spread much of his seed, and both he and his master Satan had many willing servants in this world. Humankind had spread over the face of the world, dividing into a multitude of tribes and nations. The stronger nations made war on the weaker, enslaving the people, always in the name of their God. For lo, Lucifer wears many masks and is the tribal god of many nations. The Nazarene nation was in dispersion, but with the Nazarene nation was in dispersion with but a scattered remnant surviving. Most of that remnant was in Cush. Also in Cush were the children of the Canaanites, who also called themselves Yahwehs after the false Yahweh. For behold, the Canaanites never called themselves Canaanites, but always called themselves Yahwehs. Yahwists, Yahwehs. It was the Nazarenes that called them Canaanites, for lo, the Nazarenes refused to dishonor the name of the true Yahweh by calling Lucifer's minions Yahwehs. In Cush, both the Canaanites of Yisrael and the Nazarenes of Yisrael had one thing in common. Both were under the heel of the army of Egypt. For behold, Egypt was the strongest nation in the world, and being neighbor to Cush, pillaged Cush and took many slaves. It was also in Cush that both the Canaanites and the Nazarenes came to be called Jews. It was also in Cush that both Canaanites and Nazarenes came to be called Jews. And after Jews is reference number one. One at the bottom says, the Hebrew word Yehudi means of Judah and is where we get the English word Jew. Yehudit is the Hebrew plural form of Yehudi and becomes in English Yehudite. The word Judah is the English form of the Hebrew word Yehuda and means praise or praised. Hop back up to verse 17. And the story of how that happened, go back to 16. It was also in Cush that both the Canaanites and the Nazarenes came to be called Jews. And the story of how that happened is called Jacob and the angel. That story now follows. Behold, since the fall of Italia, the Canaanites had been ruled by a succession of high priests of the line of Leviathan. And the Canaanite army enforced the edicts of the high priest. But now a general who did not wish to be subordinate to the high priest ruled the Canaanite army. For behold, the high priest enraged that the armies of Egypt repeatedly defeated his armies, beheaded many generals, and berated the soldiers. And the army believed that their losses to the Egyptians had at first been due to unwise orders from the high priest, and now being badly outnumbered. And so there was great animosity between the Canaanite army and the Canaanite priesthood. Now at this time, the name of the Canaanite general was Jacob. Let me keep reading. And after Jacob is reference number 2. Love and light to all the faithers. Facebook users, shalom. Okay. Reference number 2 at the bottom says Jacob is the English version of the Hebrew name Yaakov and means 1, follower, 2, successor, 3, one who follows at the heel. The last of those 3 meanings is the literal one. The other 2 are implied by the literal. Go back up, verse 26. And the name of the Canaanite high priest was Amalek ben Leviathan. And after Amalek ben Leviathan is reference number 3. Down at the bottom, Amalek ben Leviathan is a partially English version of the Hebrew name Amalek ben Leviathan, which means Amalek, son of Leviathan. The name Amalek means 1, warlike, 2, consumes or licks up, and 3, valley dweller. The Hebrew word ben, usually translated son of, literally means direct descendant, whether male or female. The direct descendant can be a son, daughter, or grandchild, but can also be many generations removed from the named ancestor. The English name Leviathan is in Hebrew Leviathan, pronounced Liv-ya-than, and means wreathed serpent. It stems from the Hebrew word livia, which means something attached, i.e., a wreath, garland, or ornament. In the mainstream Bible, Leviathan is briefly mentioned several times. In some verses, he is depicted as a monster of chaos who opposes the work of the true God. In other verses, he is described as a 7-headed serpent and associated with the sea. Those mainstream Bible legends have their origin in the more ancient account found in the Holy Megillah, the Nazarene Bible of the Essene Way. In that Nazarene Bible, Leviathan was the evil high priest of Lucifer on the island of Italia. He encouraged human sacrifice and cannibalism, and on his head wore a wreath adorned with 7 shrunken human heads. He was a member of the alien race called seraphim, which means fiery serpents. Thus, his name stems from the wreath he wore, and does the latter legend that he had 7 heads. Interesting. That makes a little bit of sense. Let me read that again. Okay. In the Nazarene Bible, clearly what we're reading, we just literally got finished reading that portion. In the Nazarene Bible, Leviathan was the evil high priest of Lucifer on the island of Italia. He encouraged human sacrifice and cannibalism, and on his head wore a wreath adorned with 7 shrunken human heads. He was a member of the alien race called seraphim, which means fiery serpents. Thus, his name stems from the wreath he wore, as does the latter legend that he had 7 heads. In the verse that this footnote corresponds with, reference was made to a Canaanite high priest named Amalek ben Leviathan. Now, I just started thinking about this prophecy. Let's call it a manufactured prophecy about the 7 heads of the beast. Thus, his name stems from the wreath he wore, as does the later legend that he had 7 heads. In the verse that this footnote corresponds with, reference was made to a Canaanite high priest named Amalek ben Leviathan, because many generations had passed since the time of Noah and the banishment of the seraphim, including Lucifer and Leviathan, from our world. We know that Amalek, though a descendant of Leviathan, was separated by many generations from his seraphim ancestor. We know that on the island of Italia, before it was destroyed by earthquake and flood, the seraphim had combined their seed with the eggs of human females. Most of the children produced by that mixing were taken off the island of Italia before its destruction, having been sent by Lucifer to perform missions and to rule various nations. Clearly, at least one of Leviathan's children survived the destruction of Italia, and according to the Nazarene book of Noah, though the seraphim were banished from our world, their human children were not banished, as they were native to our world. This particular Amalek, as we will read in subsequent paragraphs, led a split off the Canaanite nation, founding the Amalekites. Very long footnote, but it was very informative. Okay, so hop back up. Verse 26. And the name of the Canaanite high priest was Amalek ben Leviathan. And Amalek desired to kill the general, but that would be more difficult than with past generals, for behold, Jacob was greatly admired by his soldiers. Yea, if the soldiers were to discover that Amalek killed Jacob, they might turn on Amalek. So Amalek made a plan. One night he sent 7 of his priests to the tent where Jacob slept. They hit him on the head with a club, knocking him unconscious. Then they bound him with a rope and carried him far into the wilderness where they would kill him. And the loyal soldiers of Jacob would not know who killed their general. But lo, before they killed Jacob, something unexpected occurred. The 7 Canaanite priests had carried Jacob into the wilderness, and there they met Amalek at the appointed spot. For Amalek desired to watch the killing of Jacob and to gloat. So they staked Jacob to the ground, spread eagled, and kicked him until he awoke. When Jacob saw that he was to be slain by Amalek, he was angered and shouted, "Do this, and my men will turn on you." But Amalek gloated and mocked, saying, "Your soldiers will never know what happened." As Amalek raised his dagger As Amalek raised a dagger to stab the defenseless general, behold, a man in a white robe intervened. Yea, a man jumped from behind a tree, and with one swing of his staff knocked the dagger from the hand of Amalek. The name of this intruder was Ariel ben Judah, and he was a Nazarene lion of Zion. Amalek recognized the robe and staff of a Nazarene priest. Amalek, recognizing the robe and staff of a Nazarene priest, shrieked, "Kill him!" While Amalek cowered behind them, the 7 priests that served him drew their swords. One of them also carried a spear. Yea, that one drew his spear at the Nazarene, but Ariel moved like the wind and dodged the spear. Behold, for the assignment of capturing and killing the Canaanite general, Amalek had selected not just any priest, but trained assassins. These 7 priests were trained killers. Lo, the 7 stalked their prey, circling Ariel. Then swords held high, they attacked. A moment later, all 7 lay on the ground, 3 with broken arms. Now that dude, that lion, let me read that again, just in case y'all missed it. Verse 49. 48. Behold, for the assignment of capturing and killing the Canaanite general, Amalek had selected not just any priests, but trained assassins. These 7 priests were trained killers. Lo, the 7 stalked their prey, circling Ariel. Then, swords held high, they attacked. A moment later, all 7 lay upon the ground, 3 with broken arms. Again and again they attacked. Again and again they were knocked to the ground. Behold, Ariel ben Judah moved with the quickness of a cat and possessed the strength of a lion, for he was the foremost living master of Nazarene Zion. If we have any living masters of Zion, hold on. For he was the foremost living master of Nazarene Zion. If there's one trained like him, I will uproot my 4 pupils from karate class and enroll them into this one. When it became apparent that his 7 priests would be soundly defeated, Amalek ran into the night. He knew that Jacob would come for him and that he would bring many soldiers. He knew that the army would side with their general and that he, Amalek, would be killed. And so, upon arrival at the Canaanite temple, he gathered his priests and told them, "The general has made an alliance with the Nazarene priesthood, and the army will stand with him and turn on us. We must flee this land and build a new temple elsewhere. There we will raise our own army. Yea, we must separate ourselves from the corrupt ones and preserve our religion. For lo, already this general has forbid cannibalism, and he has spoken against human sacrifice. We can tolerate no more corruption of the religion given us by our ancestors, but we cannot now stand against his army. Wherefore, we will separate ourselves from the apostates and preserve our religion. Who will go with me?" The priests who did not raise their hands were killed. Then, along with a few dozen soldiers that Amalek knew supported him, the priests fled. Yea, they fled to another land and built a new temple, and they raised their own army. And from that time, they were called the Amalekites. After Ariel defeated the 7 Canaanite priests, they fled, for he did not kill them. And though he broke their arms, he purposely did not break their legs. For behold, he wanted them to flee. After they fled, Ariel untied Jacob. Although Jacob was conscious, he was badly injured. The many kicks of the priests had broken several of Jacob's ribs, and his head wound was severe. Wherefore Ariel placed his hand above the head of Jacob and began to chant and pray. By this time the sun had risen, and while Ariel chanted, Jacob saw angels descending from the sun to the crown of Ariel's forehead. I'm sorry, I added a 4 in there. Let me go back. Verse 83. Behold, by this time the sun had risen, and while Ariel chanted, Jacob saw angels descending from the sun to the crown of Ariel's head. then again ascending. Yea, it was like there was a golden ladder between the head of Ariel and the sun, with angels ascending and descending. Jacob thought, this man must be an angel. Y'all remember the story in the Bible? Clearly, a lot of this stuff that we just read was taken out. We just see little snippets of what was left, right? Dre saying shalom. Right. Nikki, hey girl, hey. This is really interesting. My daughter said, which is true, this or the Bible? Well, you have to remember that the Bible, remember we always talk about the Bible is the newest book on the block, and it was taken from more ancient manuscripts. If we understand that, our answer lies before us. Ariel Ben Judah went to work on those droops. Yes, he did. Genesis 32, 24 through 25. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, and he wrestled with him. Day knows it. I know Day knows it. I know he's a Yair, and he carried his staff or his wooden staff around. I got a couple wooden staffs, but my tall one that I had in my video a few years ago, right when that's early 2020, I did a video with my staff standing outside. I would call it the wilderness, but it was outside, and you could see trees behind me. I was standing out there talking. I can't even find my staff. Nobody knows where my staff is. I got like 3 of them, but my main one that I wanted to carry yesterday, I couldn't even carry that because we went out walking. I couldn't find it. Matter of fact, since we've been here, I haven't been able to find that staff. So I'm thinking maybe in the move, something may have happened to my staff and nobody's coming forth with the information. And you know what? And if they did, it serves me right, because they did the same thing to Jeremiah. Look, I told you I gave his waspy away. Y'all saw the whole shenanigans when I had him go looking for it, but nobody knows what my staff is, right? So I'm just like, I know I can find everything else, but I can't find that. Everything has been unpacked for months, right? It's nowhere to be found, and I know I packed it and put it in storage. But anyway, Day knows it. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm guessing, and I could be really wrong about this. I know he's getting a little older, but he very well could be very limber and can show you the best of moves, right? You know, but I'm thinking teacher, a younger, but I don't know. I'm sure it's more out there, but as of right now, I think he may be the oldest one that knows this art. And then again, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But it would be great if it was someone close in my vicinity. But hey, we all for traveling too. And we about to do more traveling. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to be looking for, we're going to be, like I did when I was in the military, traveling, when we traveled to different places, checking out some of their religious sites just to go in and see, not necessarily to worship, but just to look and observe and see what's going on, you know, and the children, they're going to get to see all of that stuff. So it's going to be rather amazing. All right, listen, verse 55, behold, hold on, wait a minute. No, I went too far. Let me see. Let me go back to verse. And let me just go back to verse 77. Okay. No, 75. After Ariel defeated the 7 Canaanite priests, they fled, for he did not kill them. And though he broke their arms, he purposely did not break their legs. For behold, he wanted them to flee. After they fled, Ariel untied Jacob. Though Jacob was unconscious, he was badly injured. The many kicks of the priests had broken several of Jacob's ribs, and his head wound was severe. Wherefore Ariel placed his hands above the head of Jacob and began to chant and pray. Behold, by this time the sun had risen, and while Ariel chanted, Jacob saw angels descending from the sun to the crown of Ariel's head, then again ascending. Yea, it was like there was a golden ladder between the head of Ariel and the sun, with angels descending and ascending. Jacob thought, this man must be an angel. Yea, for no mortal man can fight like that. And behold, the angels of the sun visit him. Ariel placed his hands on Jacob's wounds and prayed, and Jacob felt healing virtue enter his wounds, and Jacob felt calm and at peace. Then Jacob closed his eyes and fell asleep. Yea, he slept all day, and that evening when he awoke, Jacob spoke to Ariel. Yea, he questioned Ariel all night. For lo, it is not every day that one can debate with an angel. And after angel is reference number 4. So the angel that he wrestled with in the Bible is not really an angel at all, we see. Verse 4 at the bottom says, the paragraphs above are the original source. There you go. Kings and Queens Coaching Group, Shalom. Intuitive Goat, Shalom, sis. Okay, just me said it. Here's the answer to the question. This is really interesting. My daughter said, which is true, this or the Bible? Listen to this footnote. At the bottom of page 285, the paragraphs above are the original source of the Jacob stories in the mainstream Bible found in Genesis chapter 28 and 32. The original version found in the Holy Megillah was first altered by Jacob himself at the time of his founding of Jacobite Judaism, and then by Aaron at the time of his founding Aaronite Judaism. There you have it. The wrestling was over doctrine, not a physical fight. The fact that the Bible says they don't eat the sinew that shrank tells me the biblical account is false, because Nazarenes don't eat flesh. Absolutely true. Okay, so let's go back up. Verse 95, I read again. For lo, it is not every day that one can debate with an angel. Behold, Ariel patiently answered the many questions of Jacob. First, he explained that he was not an angel, but a man. I like that. First, he explained that he was not an angel, but a man. He said, I am a Nazarene of Shevet Ereyot, which is the tribe of lions. Jacob said, never have I seen a man fight like you. You defeated 7 armed men, yet you were armed only with a wooden staff. You dodged their blows, moving like the wind. You could have killed them, but you spared them. You did not fight like a man, but like an angel. Ariel replied, this kind of fighting is called Zion. It is from our ancestor Judah, Yehuda. Yehuda is actually in square brackets. Wherefore, we lions are also called Yehudites. And after Yehudites in square brackets is Jews. Verse 106. Then Ariel told Jacob many stories about Judah, how he founded Zion and fought bravely, many times defeating large forces. Lo, Jacob, a lifelong soldier, was fascinated by the stories of Judah, saying, I will name my son Judah, and my army will praise his name. Oh, the stories that we learned growing up. Lo, Jacob, a lifelong soldier, was fascinated by the stories of Judah, saying, I will name my son Judah, and my army will praise his name. Behold, Ariel told Jacob of the Essene way of the Nazarenes, but Jacob argued against many of the tenets. Yea, all night they debated religion. Jacob said, some of your ideas are good, but some are foolish. For behold, God is a man, not a man and woman. And though I agree that cannibalism and human sacrifice are wrong, I see no fault with the sacrifice of animals. This is Jacob saying this. Let's go back. I'm going to read that over. Verse 108. Behold, Ariel told Jacob of the Essene way of the Nazarenes, but Jacob argued. Remember, this is Jacob, the children of Israel, the patriarch, Jacob, the daddy. Listen. But Jacob argued against many of the tenants. Yea, all night they debated religion. Jacob said, some of your ideas are good, but some are foolish. For behold, God is a man, not a man and woman, right? See, that's we won't let the women get too high here. So we just talk about men. God is a man. God is a man. You've never seen a female God. Nope, God is a man. For behold, God is a man, not a man and woman. And though I agree that cannibalism and human sacrifice are wrong, I see no fault with the sacrifice of animals. And I believe that God gave us animals for food. Ariel answered such protests with great wisdom, but Jacob held to his opinions. Even so, over the course of the night, many of Jacob's views were greatly altered by the words of Ariel. And at the end of the night, with the coming of the dawn, Jacob promised, I will order my people not to harm the Nazarenes. Yea, I will cast the priesthood of Amalek from our midst and replace it. I will see that our scrolls are changed to fit my new understandings. Even so, many of the Nazarene tenets I find objectable and will not adopt. So this whole conversation back and forth with Ariel and Jacob all night, Jacob wrestling with the angel all night, the angel who is not really an angel, but he's a man who was a very skilled fighter, right? The Bible just still kind of holds to some of the false beliefs that Jacob originally had. He said, I ain't changing nothing. Look, let's go back. Verse 115. Ariel answered such protests with great wisdom, but Jacob held to his opinions. Even so, over the course of the night, wrestling with the angel all night, even so, over the course of the night, many of Jacob's views were greatly altered by the words of Ariel. And at the end of the night, with the coming of the dawn, Jacob promised, I will order my people not to harm the Nazarenes. Yea, and I will cast the priesthood of Amalek from our midst and replace it. I will see that our scrolls are changed to fit my new understandings. Even so, many of the Nazarene tenets I find objectionable, and I will not adopt. But henceforth, may our people live in peace. Jacob returned to his people and rallied his army. Seeing that those loyal to Amalek had fled, he gave not chase, saying, it is enough that we are rid of them. A few of the priests, those loyal to Jacob, had remained, for they had feigned loyalty to Amalek, then hid when he and his followers fled the wrath of Jacob. Jacob counseled with them, saying, last night I wrestled with an angel. There we go. There you go. And he left there full well knowing it wasn't an angel, it was a man. Dread for Cosmos, shalom. Listen. Last night, Jacob counseled with them, saying, last night I wrestled with an angel, and behold, I was shown a great vision. Then he instructed them to alter certain things in the scrolls and to add certain things. And though the new scriptures were still not similar to the Nazarene scrolls, they were much improved. Yea, many of the words of the false Yahweh were removed, replaced with better words. Even so, some of the words of the false Yahweh remained. Then Jacob assembled all his people and told them, from this day we will be called Yehudites. And because I have wrestled with an angel of Elohim, our nation shall be called Yisrael. And indeed, from that day on, the people of Jacob were called Yehudites, Jews, even as the Nazarene lions were also called. And the nations of Yisrael and Yesarel lived side by side in peace. Remember, Yisrael, which now is what Jacob and his 12 tribes, or his 12 children, the whole nation of Israel, the children of Israel, they're called Yisrael, which means wrong relationship with Elohim. And Yezrael, which would be the Nazarenes, is those in right relationship with Elohim, or the great creator, right? So here's where all of that breaks out. This is all good. Let me just do all that. Hold up. I gotta come back here with my Bible and go through all this again. I gotta pull some stuff apart. Okay. Verse 134, I read again. And indeed, from that day on, the people of Jacob were called Yehudites, Jews, even as the Nazarene lions were also called. And the nations of Yisrael and Yesarel lived side by side in peace. But though they warred not against one another, the Egyptian army decimated both. We don't care about none of you ninjas. The ones in right and wrong relationship, we getting you both. Yea, the Egyptians often attacked the religion of Cush, killing them of Yisrael and Yesarel and taking slaves. Over time, the Egyptians destroyed both nations, but a few survivors scattered through the hills. But lo, many thousands of Yisrael survived in Egypt as slaves. Yea, and a few hundred of Yesarel also survived in Egypt as slaves. And the Egyptians did not differentiate between them, calling them of both nations Jews, Yehudites. And as both, oh my gosh, something just made a whole bunch of sense. Listen, so, let me finish reading this. Hold up, listen. What time is it? We got 15 minutes. Listen, hold on. Yea, the Egyptians often attacked the region of Cush, killing them of Yisrael and Yesarel and taking slaves. Over time, the Egyptians destroyed both nations, with but a few survivors scattered through the hills. But lo, many thousands of Yisrael survived in Egypt as slaves. Yea, and a few hundred of Yesarel also survived in Egypt as slaves. And the Egyptians did not differentiate between them, calling them of both nations Jews, Yehudites. And as both Yisrael and Yesarel were in slavery together, so too they were liberated together. And the story of that liberation is the story of Moses. And that story follows. So boom, listen. So remember how this just brought a piece together for me. Remember how I was always saying, as I was reading through the books of the prophets, I spent all this time going through the Old Testament, reading through, I began to notice the difference. And it was the prophets who were sticking to the words of true God or true creator or Yah. And then you had the rest of the shenaniganizers in Israel who were also in bondage. No wonder they were two different sets of people. The prophets, the ones who listened to true God, who were constantly coming to the hard-headed ones saying repent. Those were the Nazarenes. That was Yesarel. The hard-headed ones doing what they want to do, complaining, why you bring us out of Egypt? At least they'll enjoy the leeks and the melons. That was Yisrael. Those are wrong relationship with Creator. The prophets were Nazarenes, those who were in right relationships. Yes, that explains the Levitical priesthood. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. This is a much more ancient version, y'all, just in case you didn't know. Listen. Look. Just me. I don't want to kill anything, but these bugs won't dodge my windshield. Laugh out loud, fade into the background, family. Be safe driving to work. I mean, sometimes it is what it is. We know you ain't doing it on purpose. Look, so the next chapter 2, birth and childhood of Moses. We'll get 45. Okay. We're on page 286 in the Holy Megillah, also called the Secret Nazarite Scroll. Listen to this. This is so good. Birth and childhood of Moses. The Nazarenes and Jacobites were for many generations in slavery in Egypt. And after Jacobites is reference number 1, and one at the bottom says, Jacobites is the Nazarene term for the non-Nazarene Jews. From the time of Jacob, they are no longer considered Canaanites, but Jacobites. The Canaanites survived as the Amalekites. Okay. The Nazarenes and Jacobites were for many generations in slavery in Egypt. their numbers grew, especially the Jacobites. Yea, their numbers grew so large that the advisors to Pharaoh told him, for a period of 7 years, let no male babies born to the Jews survive. Order that they be killed at birth. That way, the number of male Jews will be reduced so as to lessen the chance of violent insurrection. The Pharaoh agreed, and a decree went forth requiring the killing at birth of all male babies of the Jews. And because the Egyptians drew no distinction between the Nazarenes and Jacobites, calling them each Jews, this law pertained to both. At this time, there was a Nazarene woman named Jochebed, and she was pregnant. And after Jochebed is reference number 2. 2 at the bottom says the Hebrew name Jochebed means Yahweh is gracious. It is pronounced Yochebed and has come into English as Jochebed. Verse 9, she and her husband Amram were both of venerated family lines. And after Amram is reference number 3, 3 at the bottom says, the Hebrew name Amram means exalted people. Amram's parents were dedicated to the preservation of Nazarene self-identity during the captivity in Egypt, and that is reflected in the name they gave their son. Go back up. Verse 9. She and her husband Amram were both of venerated family lines. She was of the line of Noah and Shimrith, and he was of the line of Judah and Rapha. When they heard of Pharaoh's decree, they were greatly concerned. Amram said, we must pray. We will ask Jah and Elohim for guidance. For if our baby is born male, we must save him. For many hours they prayed, then they slept. That night, Jochebed dreamed, and lo, she was shown in a vision in her dream. And lo, she was shown a vision in her dream. Yea, in the vision, she was shown a way to save the life of her baby, which would be a boy. And she was told, name your son Moses, for he will lead your people out of Egypt. And after Moses is reference number 4, and 4 at the bottom says, the contemporary Jewish understanding of the name Moses is that it is the, the contemporary Jewish understanding of the name Moses is that it is the English version of the Hebrew name Moshe, understood as a particle of the verb masa, which means to draw out, as in draw out of the water. They believe the name comes from the fact that Moses was drawn out, pulled out of the water by the Pharaoh's daughter. However, the Nazarene teaching is that Moses is the English version of the Hebrew name Moza, M-O-Z-A, pronounced Mosah, M-O-T-S-A-W, which means Exodus. That's interesting. Let me highlight this. Let me read it again. They believe that the name comes from the fact that Moses was drawn out, pulled out of the water by Pharaoh's daughter. However, the Nazarene teaching is that Moses is the English version of the Hebrew name Moza, pronounced Mosah, which means Exodus. As described in the above verses, Moses' mother, Jochebed, was told in a dream, name your son Moses, for he will lead your people out of Egypt. That makes sense. Moses means Exodus, for he will lead your people out of Egypt. That makes way more sense. That prophecy relates to the Exodus from Egypt and is the source of the name of Moses. Okay, go back up. Okay, I'm tracking with them. Okay, verse 19. We're on page 287 in the Holy Megillah. Verse 19, and she was told, name your son Moses, for he will lead your people out of Egypt. And the story of how Jochebed saved her baby now follows. The sister of Jochebed was named Mara, and she was one of the surviving remnant of the Zeroah Nistar, the hidden arm of the Nazarenes. And after Mara is reference number 5, And Mara at the bottom says, Mara means mirror and is pronounced Mar-ah. Verse 22. Behold, Mara was the personal servant of the Pharaoh's daughter, Aish, and though she was servant, she became more than that. Lo, Mara had become the friend and teacher of, what I call her? Aish, 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 Ahyyish. Okay. And though she was a servant, she had become more than that. Lo, Mara had become the friend and teacher of Aish. Wherefore, Pharaoh's daughter was opposed to her father's decree that the Nazarene male babies be killed. Yea, she had begged her father to cancel the decree, and he almost did, but for the strong objections of his advisors. Behold, each day Mara and Aish went for a walk along the river. Jochebed hid in the brush near the part of the river where they walked and secretly gave birth. The baby was a boy, and according to her vision, she named him Moses. When she saw Mara and Aish walking beside the water, she placed him in a basket and floated him downriver toward them. Yea, the basket was made of papyrus and was coated with bitumen and pitch, wherefore it floated without sinking. And Jochebed had told Mara of her plan, and Mara had told Aish. Wherefore, when they saw the baby floating toward them, Aish feigned surprise, for there were others in the area. Oh, she acted like she was surprised. So they knew this was about to happen. Okay. So according to the story in the Bible, they didn't. Listen. All right. When she saw Mara and Aish walking beside the river, she placed him in a basket and floated him downriver toward them. Yea, the basket was made of papyrus and was coated with bitumen and pitch, wherefore it floated without sinking. And Jochebed had told Mara of her plan, and Mara had told Aish. Wherefore, when they saw the baby floating toward them, Aish feigned surprise, for there were others in the area. Aish declared, "This baby has been sent to me by God. I will raise him as my own child." Because Aish did not have milk in her breast, being a virgin, she said, "I will need a nurse to breastfeed this baby." Then looking knowingly into the eyes of Mara, she said, "Can you find me a woman with milk to nurse this baby?" And I often wonder, how is this? Clearly, I just relegated it to the fact that the Creator knows all, and that just by holy intuition, they went and found the exact woman that gave birth to Moses, right? That's just in my mind. I was okay with that. You know what? The Creator, God, can do anything, and just by His Holy Spirit, they just led them right into the midst of the bondage where all these people were bypassing. All of these other women went right to the tent of the woman who gave birth to this child. Even though it seemed far-fetched to me, I was okay with the Lord can do anything. Listen to this. Look. Verse 37. Then looking knowingly into the eyes of Mara, she said, "Can you find me a woman with milk to nurse this baby?" Mara smiled and answered, "My sister Jochebed just lost the baby. She has milk to feed this baby." Aish said, "Because you already have so many duties, I want her to move into the servant quarters at my house next to your quarters, and she can bring her husband, for I am in need of a master gardener." This story makes so much more sense. Not that I discount the power of the Holy Spirit or the Creator doing things, right? But some things we got to just know by our own intuition and our critical thinking skills that the great Creator has given us. Everything is not supernatural. That's what I've learned in this process. Things sometimes that we relegate to being supernatural, just, oh yeah, supernatural, the Lord did it. No, that's our laziness. And we don't want to do our due diligence and research and really think about this, right? And unpack the story. We got to get better, y'all. Sounds like a WASP. Look, this is a voice text. I'm listening while driving, and I'm starting to taste what brand. Hold on. This is a voice text. I'm listening while driving, and I'm starting to taste what brand cigarettes those who wrote the Bible smoke, because I can taste it from all that's been blown up my butt. Oh, that was funny. Just me. Look, yeah, yeah. Let me tell y'all, boy, we got a lot more researching and understanding to do. Listen to this. Hold on. And we only got a few minutes, and we literally almost done with this chapter anyway. It's only a few more verses, then we're gonna pause at the end of chapter 2. Listen to this. This is crazy. Okay. Hold on. Verse 38. I'm just 37 again. Then, looking knowingly into the eyes of Mara, she said, "Can you find me a woman with milk to nurse this baby?" Mara smiled and answered, "My sister Jochebed just lost a baby. She has milk to feed this baby." Aish said, "Because you already have so many duties, I want her to move into the servant quarters at my house next to your quarters, and she can bring her husband, for I am in need of a master gardener." And so it was that Jochebed and Amram, the true mother and father of Moses, became servants of Aish, the Pharaoh's daughter, and lived on the palace grounds. Jochebed was the primary caregiver of Moses, and when Moses was 7, he began practicing Zayin with Amram. For behold, Amram was the living master of Zayin, as was his father before him. Also, when Moses was 7, Aish told him the truth about his birth parents, that they were Jochebed, his nurse, and Amram, the gardener. And she told him that she, Aish, loved him very much, and how they had saved him from the cruel edict of her father, the Pharaoh. She then swore him to secrecy, saying, "Only talk of these things with Amram, Jochebed, Mara, and myself." And Moses kept his promise. So the 10 Commandments, the movie, is garbage. I mean, we knew that already, but I just wanted to say that again. But anyway, I love watching it every year when it come on. Nevertheless, I grew up watching it, and it's a greatly loved movie by me. But now I know when I'm watching it, I just be picking apart stuff now. And my kids be sitting there watching. Sometimes they didn't quote on to some of the stuff. Oh yeah, that's a lie. Yeah, because we know that didn't really happen. So I mean, we still watch it, but we use them as teachable moments now. But anyway, y'all, that's the end of this chapter. This is really good. It definitely looks like it's gonna get better. I have not read ahead in here, so I'm gonna be reading it with y'all. So I'm gonna be just as surprised. So when I get epiphanies, of course, it's gonna, I ain't gonna have to fake the funk, because it's gonna be like, oh snap, like I'm gonna really be getting it in that moment, because I ain't gonna read ahead. But anyway, I've done enough talking for today. That's it, y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out. It is Wednesday, June the 7th, 2023, day 50 of year 5 of reading through Books, Laws, and Prophets. And of the 5-year consecutive day count, it is day 1429. Today we finished reading the Lord's 5th book found in Owaspy, which were on pages 135 to 137. And remember, for the next few days, well, yeah, it's gonna probably maybe be like a week at the max 2 before we start the next book, which is the Book of Fragapati, which is a very lengthy book. But I want to actually get through the rest of the Book of Moses and the rest of this, and we'll start the Book of Fragapati back when we start the God spell section, which will be in approximately 2 weeks. So for the next couple weeks, it's going to be straight Holy Megillah, the secret Nazarite scroll, from the time we start to the time we end, right? Okay. And so today we started the Book of Moses, which began on page 282, and we paused at the end of chapter 2 on page 288. So that was chapters 1 and 2. All right, y'all. So with that being said, Father, even though you are invisible, we thank you that we can still see you by all those visible things that come out of your invisibility. And that's it for today, y'all. Creator is definitely undefeated. And we thank him for truth and clearing up lies and Bible stories and fables and stuff that we grew up learning, right? We're at a different stage in our development spiritually, and it's a good thing, right? We should want to grow. Those of us, I ain't kicking against the pricks, but those people who are getting presented with the opportunity to grow spiritually, just don't fight against it. Even if you don't want to, just sit and think about it. Think about the new information that you're being presented with. Think about it. Roll it through your head. Meditate on it. Go research it. Check and see if it's true. Check into all the resources that you can possibly find, right? Go pick it apart. That's what you should do, right? That way you have all the information to make an informed, conscious decision about whether you're going to adjust your beliefs to the truth you now know and understand, or if you're just going to throw it all in the trash and continue on believing lies. It's your choice, right? So with that being said, beautiful people, that is it. Pam, you're trying to mess me up. I'm trying to stay ahead of your daily readings. You got to be a little bit quicker than that. Right, because we're going to be right in the book of Moses. All right, y'all. Yes, process the information. And that's it for today, y'all. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
But I see through you.
I'm from outer space. I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gold, I've been far away. I'm illuminated now, making moves.
What did you just do to me?
I pushed your astral form out of your physical form.
What's in that tea? Psilocybin? LSD?
It's just tea. With a little honey.
What just happened?
For a moment, you entered the astral dimension.
What?
A place where the soul exists apart from the body.
Why are you doing this to me?
To show you just how much you don't know. Open your eyes.
Been dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the birds, they want a coastline.
What's happening? This isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real, this is...
Dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the birds, they want a coastline.
His heart rate is getting dangerously high.
He looks all right to me. You think that this material universe is all there is?
I don't need gravity, I need
What mysteries lie beyond the reach of your senses? Existence, mind and matter meet. Thoughts shape reality.
I don't need gravity, I just need growth. I'm a fine line, yeah, I'm a misleading of this illusion. I am not really here, I'm an intrusion. I don't swim or sink, I just float.
Some benevolent and life-giving, filled with malice and hunger. Dark places where powers older than time and waiting.
I don't swim or sink, I just float.
Who are you in this vast multiverse?
I don't need gravity, I just need I don't need gravity, I just need growth.
Have you seen that before in a gift shop?
I don't need gravity, I just need growth.
Teach me.
No.
It's an earthquake rumble. I won't ever ever fall, never stumble. And I don't need to be humble. Break down walls like Jericho crumble.